Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday morning. How's everyone doing? Good morning, Patrick. Good morning, Jacob. Good morning, Jake. Good morning, Heinrich. Good morning, people in the background. People still filtering in. Let's get right to it. We already had the mortgage information come out earlier. Nothing really shocking. Mortgage rate up the 7.09. So let's see if that puts any more of a damper on the housing market or not. The only other thing we really have are the EIA crude numbers. Crude trying to break out to the upside. So is natural gas. Talked about that, putting in a solid base and building below resistance. And now that looks like it's breaking out also. So we'll have to see if these energy can hold the resistance becoming support levels. And then we have bill and note auctions. That's about it. Remember, tomorrow morning, CPI numbers. So that the market will focus on that on Friday, PPI, and after CPI tomorrow, it's more Fed speak. So it's going to be an interesting day tomorrow. Relatively quiet today so far. We have a slight bounce back. Watch some of yesterday's highs, especially on stocks that have pulled back, like Apple. Apple had a mini double bottom, like a 1 hour time frame. Also watch, because if they close above yesterday's highs, some of these key ones, there would be a very aggressive percent B buys for only a short-term bounce, but has to follow through with a close above yesterday's high. Other than that, you see oil really leading. I mean, energy and oil leading higher. We'll just do a quick refresh here. But everything is positive today, but energy leading the charge back. Fed Watch Tool going to CPI has a pause still through, and then the cut in March. Fear and greed still running about 69, just below extreme greed, but not even able to drop back to neutral on this pullback so far. Let's see who else is here. Good morning, Royal Palms. Yeah, strong momentum in oil yesterday. Good morning. Checking in on Dave 3 of vacation. Well, glad you're having a good vacation. How's the new desk working out, Sterling? Hello, Christoph. We will check on crude. Looking at crude, by the way, Roblox big, huge miss on revenue, big gap down. If you're trading Roblox, I think it was 33.69 was the level on a closing basis. You get below that, we should see further price decreases even after any bounces. Today after close, we got the big one is Disney. Disney's the big one, but again, nothing much that's really going to shake the markets. So that's where that stands. Tomorrow morning, Alibaba. Really about it. So let's take a look. Now, yesterday, you can see here, yesterday, we have a clear line in the sand, broke below it, and then could not stay below. Then we got some momentum after European close, some bouncing up momentum. Cycles are turning up on the daily basis. It needs to really break above about this 45.39. I'm watching this little trend line you see on the 1 hour. So as long as we don't really start closing back below that, about 45.15, I'll be watching for a potential breakout. On the shorter term basis, we have a little flagging pattern also. So do keep an eye on that going into the open. But I watch on any pullback as long as we bounce off that trend line. And here's the key level if you're looking for some horizontal. You had prior resistance, little support base here. So I'll be looking if we pull back in the open on that. Other than that, let me pull these off now. Other than that, we'll be watching. We really need to gain momentum out 45.40 before something can take hold. 45.58, 45.77 are the targets higher. Now, with the price action yesterday, if we do really start breaking below about 44.90 again with momentum, and not necessarily today, but any day coming up, we have a very key line in the sand. Very key line in the sand, because a lot of the momentum buys from yesterday will have stops right below here. And then I would be targeting the breakdown to the 50 EMA. So this is a definitive base that's been put in. Again, on any rally, I'm not expecting a major. We got really mixed signals. We've reconnected with the rotation zone. The only thing that makes me focus on a return to the high area is if we close above 45.7725 in the next couple days. NASDAQ cycle's also turning up. You see that broke a lot lower than closing, but closing at this support level. You can see right here, support. So close, little bounce, snapback closed yesterday, but if the NASDAQ starts breaking down, starting about 15.3, you can watch for a potential retest of the lows areas yesterday, and then the next target is 15.100, 15.112. So NASDAQ actually looking the weaker of a lot of them. Again, breaking a pretty key trend line right here, coming back to kiss it out, but not looking for a lot to the upside unless we really start getting, we need a closing of about 15.655 for me, but we need to start getting above about 15.480, 15.5 to the upside. Hey, Chris. Good morning, Connor. What day is it, Chris? Is it buy everything again? No, I mean, I'm watching for stuff to be short-term bounces. Remember, these rotation zones are rolling over. We're getting more of a significant topping pattern. Any rally up is not, we can retest some of these high areas, but that's not a buy everything. It's not a buy and hold everything. It's if you're looking for any, let me show you. For example, Apple. Yeah, we got this that looks like it's triggered minor. Is that, and then its targets are only 180.92, 180.152, 182.11. Could it carry on a bit for that? Yeah, you have a clear path move. Would I be shooting for Apple to go back to 196? No. Look at the way this has shifted. I wouldn't even be shooting at this point for a full gap fill. Key resistance now is 186. So could Apple bounce back? Yeah. But is it something that I'd want to be holding for new highs? No. No, something that has to fundamentally change. Also, Apple hitting close to cycle bottoms, trying to put in a little mini bottom. It could still try to put in a bigger base, but it's got a very key line in the sand. You can see right in this area, support. And on the weekly basis, it's testing the bottom of the rotation zone. You start breaking down from these levels, watch out below. That's why I'm keeping an eye. There's a lot of things that might be getting short-term bounces, but they don't necessarily have to have a lot of follow-through. The Dow, still on. If it closes above 35,555, the double will be over after only hitting the first target a couple times, the first target area a couple times. A lot of buying pressure in the Dow. The Dow, I'm keeping an eye on this trend line right here. But then again, needs to get a close above the 35.55 before I start watching for some further confirmed price action higher. The Dow's also got that key level. Even if the double gets invalidated, you start breaking below this 35.1, we could see a pretty quick trip to the 50 EMA coming in about 34.750. Russell. Little trend line here has not been able to get above, and I'm going to bump down this level just a hair. So it's about 1965 before I can consider getting at least minorly bullish. To get more significantly bullish, needs to close above 1984. Because even if it got above here, between the 50 and 62% harmonic, be watching for a rollover play. The Russell hasn't even been able to break above that trend line yet. Also, remember, in some of these on pullback modes, you can look with these pretty decent bounces. If it, like for the Russell, if we pull back and can't hold the 50 to 62, can't hold the 50 to 62.5 harmonics between 1946 and 1941, and then close below 1941, that's another way to gauge a rollover play besides using short-term price action. It's hump day. Let's see. Motorized standing desk on custom computer. Yeah, it's perfect. Almost makes losing money on trades a pleasure. So, hey, well, what would you say? I can't stand losing money. So I guess that could work. I can't stand losing money. Maybe we should take a look at that as the new motto. If you have a stand-up desk, look at that also at the prior breakout level and the level on the Russell. Should it roll over? Russell, these a lot of them are in tenuous situations because if they break below this established low from Monday or yesterday, sorry, you could see an easily return to the bottom of the rotation zone. VIX. VIX actually dropping below that 16 level again, coming back to the rotation zone. So if it starts trading above 16 with any momentum you see yesterday, the big run up, and then we got the buying spurt after European close, hitting the harmonic, and then reversing. We had a harmonic cluster up there. So I will be watching either again. If we get below 15 and sustain below 15, then we will be looking for probably a significant bounce to retest on these high levels. If we start getting above 16 with momentum, I'll be watching for the rollover plays. Sort of right in here is no man's land. DAX bounce back to key resistance and already rolling over. The DAX is looking weak. It has to get a close above about 16,050 before I'd be looking for any more of a sustained bounce. Otherwise, I'm watching for a retest of this low area. The notes, not much has changed. I'm keeping an eye on yesterday's high and low. 10-year trying to still hold the rotation zone after a multi-day pullback. We'll have to see if it can run up to make a more significant topping pattern. The 10-2s, not yet at the first weekly double target or the final weekly double target. Going to be keeping an eye on that. Dollar index still has a potential double top. Never has to trigger. If we do break above this about 102.45 area, again, we could see a pretty quick run to the 200. Crude, which hope everybody listened to the podcast. If you didn't, I don't know what you're thinking, because it's probably the best podcast of every month because I'm on it. This is coming up short, pulling back to the rotation zone, basing, dip yesterday, but then aggressive buying, trying to break out today. And the double is off the table. It was never confirmed or triggered. It was a potential, and now we're breaking out higher. We could see, so as long as I'm watching today with the EIA numbers coming out to see if we can keep this 83 level. This 83 level. Based off where it is, based off where it is now, I see these key closes right in here. The key close from Friday, little reversal, and the key close from Tuesday. I want to see that really hold on a closing basis. If we lose that, the line in the sand for me is about 79.50, because if we come back down, it would be a false breakout and then a break below the rotation zone. But other than that, remember, we formed a decent base, broke out of the basing pattern, pulled back to the rotation zone, first cross rotation zone, in a base, pulled back yesterday. So the rotation zone's clearly holding. Natty Gas, which we talked about this being a very good example of a longer-term building base. So it set this is a weekly chart. It set the lower base. You see here the lower base, broke above it, retested the breakout of the lower base, and then let's shift to the daily, building the higher base area. Now what's it doing today? Breaking out of the higher base. So, I'm watching for a target of about 342. I do not want this to get a close back below about 279 on a closing basis, because that would then be a short-term failed breakout. But this is a substantial, so from a learning perspective, this is a substantial base being built. Back to crude. Sterling, you asked a question, monthly double bottom. Between this let me see the weekly. Now, see, I would not trade it. I'd use different targets. It's too ill-formed with this long, big sideways thing. The major targets, if you're trying to structure trades on crude, 88.50, 92.50 area, and then about 97 would be the targets I would utilize to the upside. We already looked natural gas, and the first target I'd utilize in natural gas is building towards this 340, 342 area. The next minor thing it's got to really get through is just above $3. Gold, not much going on. There's not much going on in the metals right now. Pay attention also. This is easing up a little on the market. We're getting the JGBs pulling the 10 years to pull back. I'm going to be watching. If they break below 50 basis points again, then I'll be watching for a lot less pressure. And so far, this is taking a little pressure off the unwind of the carry trade right now, which is why we could be seeing at least a short-term little bounce move in equities. But I'm paying attention to this, especially if it starts breaking above 60 basis points again. The yen still has a minor double top here and the more significant double top, but nothing's really changed. Up here, if it breaks really above about 143.90, going to be watching for this 144.82 test. Euro, we still have a sloppy potential daily double bottom. Still needs a close above 110.42. Pound, not much going on there worth looking at. Bitcoin, little bounce yesterday, but still trading against key resistance. Trading against very key resistance. What else do we have? The spiders and the Qs. The spiders and the Qs. What are we looking for to the upside? Yesterday is with the key close. We got the gap fill after running up. I'm paying attention to yesterday's high on any rally move, 450.70, and then 452.35 to 452.50. And on the closing basis, 454.13. That's for a continued push higher. Remember, you still have a gap left behind. From the upside, from a key support, we're looking at 448 and then back to about 446.90 to 447, and then it would be from yesterday's low. All right, that's what's key. We start breaking through yesterday's low. You're still going to see we got a gap left behind. The harmonics now point to probably returning to the 50 once this area is broken, but that's a key, very key level to be held. The Qs coming down to the 62.5. We had this little harmonic cluster, still holding the channel on the closing basis. Still no gap fill here, but I'm watching on the bounce move. Remember, the Qs are the weakest. Right now, trading 372.53. The first target for me would be 373.88, and then 375.19. That would be that would be Monday's open first, and then Monday's close. Above there, you got 375.75. So we have a fair amount of overhead pressure to that. And then if I put on the retracement harmonics real quick, I know it's a little goopy up here, but the next would be 378.40, and on a closing basis, 380.80. Yesterday on a rollover move, we start losing about 371.80. Gets dicey. I'd be watching just for the retest of this low area from yesterday, and then you got 367.42 and then 365.24. Hey, George, how you get? Well, I'll let people answer that. It's a way to determine where the SQQ. It's really difficult because of the inverse and the bleed-off relationship. I just do your own technical analysis on the SQQQ and TQQQ. I can't stand trading those. Personally, I'd rather short micro futures. Mike, does a double top. No, this didn't get high enough on the Q. I know it didn't on the futures. I did not check it on the Qs. The Qs technically did. The Qs technically did. The futures did not. I know that for a fact. But that would be a retest of the 50 area. So you can use these targets longer term. It bounced. Thank you for pointing that out to me, Christoph. Thank you. I missed that on the Qs. That's why everyone here is very helpful. So the first target was roughly 369, which it hit yesterday. Next target 366.43, 363.80. Thank you again for pointing that out, Christoph. All right. Tesla, the key line in the sand still holding about 240, 241. On any bounce play, looking for a rollover move. Key resistance about 252, and then it trades above there. Let me take something off here. It trades above there. About 255.70 to 256. NVIDIA still in the channeling flag pattern. All right, AAL has triggered daily head and shoulders now as confirmed mini double bottom to look for a rollover area. Full disclosure, I am short shares from last week. All right, full disclosure. It's got the little it's got the little mini. There's your little mini. So, yeah, could it see a bounce? Yep. So, again, 1622. So you're getting a little bounce over there. I'd be watching on any bounce plays for another rollover. You still have cycles heading back up, so it could easily return again to the 50 or the other side of the rotation zone before rolling over again. But those are both completely valid. The double is just a minor bounce contrary play to the bigger triggered. I mean, it wasn't a weekly pattern. It is definitely a sloppier daily pattern, but with the horizontal neckline rule. What platform do you use to trade micro futures on? I have a couple different platforms, but one of the key ones is interactive brokers. You can trade micros, but most brokers, as long as they're really a good futures broker, you can trade micros on. And your platform doesn't really matter. I mean, if I'm not using interactive brokers, I love any broker that uses NinjaTrader, especially for shorter term stuff. I really like the NinjaTrader interface. And a lot of different platforms. I don't recommend brokers, because there could be a conflict. I don't even recommend you go with IB. I don't want to have any conflict of interest or anything else or think I'm pushing something or another. The only thing I would steer away from is anything that appears a little sketchy or a little like, how are they offering this kind of stuff? So, because you're better to pay slightly higher fees for proper execution and minimal slippage than to get with a very sketchy broker. That's especially going to front run a lot of orders. All right. But there's a lot of good research out there with very credible futures brokers. I've used TradeStation in the past. Haven't used them in years. So you can look for other people. Yeah, if anybody else has recommendations, give them out in here. Again, I'm trying to stay very neutral in terms of trading platforms. Besides, if I see something that's completely like, you don't want to touch that, I will say that. All right, going into the open. Again, just to recap, on the S&P, as long as we really hold this 45.15 to about 45.13 area. Again, this is a declining trend line to kiss it back goodbye. But remember, you can also look for the longer term stuff. If it breaks that, the next level would be about 45.09, and then key would be 45.02 on an intraday closing basis. With that, I shall talk to everyone later. Bye for now.